Do you think that is related to the fact that art has become esoteric? It's become sort of something that only the elite consume. Someone who goes to NYU and gets a degree in fine arts or contemporary art seems to like to hang out in art galleries, but you don't see, your average plumber going to an art museum these days. Mm-hmm. Whereas perhaps in the old world, it was more palatable for your hoi polloi, your common man. Do you have any thoughts on that? Do you agree with that? Or do you think that taste just hasn't caught up with what artists are churning out these days?
I think this is an excellent point, and I think this is the first and foremost reason why they have opted for this sort of art or so-called art, elitism. It means they have used art or their conception of art as one other tool to tell the masses, to tell ordinary people what they understand and what they don't understand. Common man used to be able to appreciate art, and you didn't even have to go to the art galleries. All you needed to do, especially in the old world, was to go to your church. And it's not surprising that most of the art that we know has to do with church. The church itself, its building and its elements, its structure, its stained glasses, its statues, the altars, they were all works of art because it had the function to remind you of the divinity of God and give you the good news of the hereafter. So people were poor, people needed something to believe, and people, of course, couldn't read and write. So these beautiful stories or stories of the Bible and the concept of heaven and hell, all of this had to be presented to them via art. And of course, creating good art was expensive because creating beauty was expensive. And not everybody has the skill or used to have the skill. Unlike now, as I said, the threshold is very low. So a lot of art was commissioned by church and artists were commissioned by church. And the common man, although illiterate, could appreciate beauty. Whereas today, elitism means that our overlords, our masters tell us, okay, you don't understand this. You think this is ugly, you think this is not art, you don't know nothing. So this is another way of telling us what is good for us and what is not. So in the same fashion that in politics, you have the vote, but if you vote wrong, they tell you and they try to overthrow your vote. So you don't understand, even if you voted for Brexit, or even if you voted for Trump. You don't understand that diversity is good for us. You don't understand that multiculturalism or mass immigration is great. So this is another area in which they try to become the gatekeepers of what is good and what is not, and what is right and what is wrong. Whereas in our nature, we are used to, as I said, appreciate and distinguish beauty from ugliness and a true work of art from just pretentious rubbish or tat. And of course, there are other reasons as well. They have declared war on the Western society, on the Western civilization. So they are against the Western civilization or Christianity or capitalism or all of that. So in trying to subvert the old world and the old order, they do this in architecture, they do this in politics, and they do this in art as well, by subverting what we used to believe was good or was beautiful. And last thing, which is again related to this, is the question of subjectivity and relativism, cultural relativism. In a world where everything has become relative and arbitrary, art has become arbitrary as well. So when you don't have any measures to decide what gender is, when you self-identify your gender, when nationality has become meaningless because borders are pointless or blurry, when everybody can be German or English or American as long as you set foot here very quickly, when everybody can be beautiful, when obesity is bravery, when hashtag everybody is beautiful, everybody is beach body ready, when everything is a self-construct, then beauty is also totally relative. So nothing is beautiful, everything is beautiful. So to wrap it up, elitism going against the Western structure and Christian art, and finally cultural relativism.